Welcome
to Dark Narratives. I'm Isabella.
And I'm Alexandria. To get more educated in astrology. I just haven't time yet.
That's like on your to-do list.
It is. Yeah, no, it's like it's something that really intrigues me, and it's super.
You know what intrigues me? Every time I see a full moon, I always think, oh, I wonder if something crazy is gonna happen. Or
it
like
does.
if people are gonna be cranky tomorrow or something like that.
They will.
I do worry about that.
No, it's true.
But okay, I was gonna say what interests me is space. I go down rabbit holes sometimes on space.
It's more crazier is space is more explored and than parts of the ocean.
I know, I heard that. I went on this deep dive not too long ago about space. Because you know those two astronauts that were in space and they couldn't come home because there was something wrong with the return capsule?
I don't. Space is absolutely terrifies me, so that's probably why I don't know that, because I've heard about it and didn't want to hear any more about it.
It's terrifying, but I just re-looked this up, and so when I was reading into that about those astronauts, then I went on to this like rabbit hole, and I ended up in learning about this guy who was literally forgotten in space, like stranded in space, because he was in space when the Soviet Union happened. He was in space for 311 days.
Nightmare.
Holy, there was probably like nothing left of him.
But isn't the time different there? So like, is that space time or our time? Do you know what I mean?
I don't really know that part, but I know like if you're in space for too long, you lose your muscle, your
body mass.
And
yes.
Yeah.
Like the longer you're there, you do lose that. So yeah, that's so scary.
And the space training, I would say the space training part scares the shit out of me too. I don't know why.
It all scares me.
Like space, like just looking out the window and it's just abyss.
Or I've heard that being up in space, I've heard astronauts saying that looking at Earth and just having a renewed kind of appreciation for our Earth, looking at it from so far up, just, you know, it just looks like this precious ball, I guess.
Oh God, space is so scary, but it's so fascinating. Tell me what you've got.
So today, I want to tell you right off the bat that nobody dies in this episode. It's a bonkers case, but nobody dies. On February 19th in 2008, Shannon Matthews, a 9-year-old girl, she wakes up and she gets out of her bunk bed. She's got her 101 Dalmatians pajamas on and she's ready. She's really excited to go to school today because today they're going for swimming lessons and they're in the UK. So they've got swimming lessons included in school. I guess that's not common everywhere in the world. She puts her favorite rain boots on. It's February, so it's cold in the UK. It's rainy. They're pink with fuzz around the top. She's gone to school. And that day she's kind of quiet and her friends were kind of saying how not her regular outgoing self, but they didn't really ask much. And
you're scaring me because you said 9-year-old girl.
I keep thinking. But then again, nobody dies, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so she puts her boots on. She goes to school. They go swimming. The day goes well. Everything's fine. And then after school, she gets off the bus. Her friends, they part ways. And she never comes back home. Her mother is waiting for her. It's 4:00 now. She's still not home. And her mom is kind of, okay, well, you know, she's usually home by now, but maybe she went to a friend's house. It's a small community where they live, a small area. So she's thinking, you know, maybe she went to her friend's house, not thinking too much about it. She actually goes shopping. Her mom goes off shopping with her sister-in-law.
2008?
Yeah, her mom goes shopping. She comes back home at 7 p.m. at this point. First of all, it's a 9-year-old. Okay. As a mother, would you go shopping if you're 9?
Absolutely not. I'm like furious
Okay.
listening to this.
All right.
Like
Her
what?
mom comes home at 7 p.m. Her 9-year-old daughter is still not home. Shannon. Her mother, Karen Matthews, calls 999, and this is the 911 in the UK. She calls and
Sorry, this is 2008. It's not like this is like the 80s or or like even the 90s. This is 2008.
Yeah, she's not a latchkey kid. No. Yeah.
So there's no reason why okay, go on.
Okay, so Karen Matthews calls 999 and she's frantic. And she's saying, my daughter's not home. I'm calling to report my 9-year-old. And the dispatcher says, well, have you checked with her friends? Has there been any arguments at home? Is there any reason for her to run away? And Karen says, no, she's no fights at home. She's happy at home. There's no reason for her to not be home. Everyone's taking this very seriously. It's February in the UK. It's cold. It's a 9-year-old that's missing. This is 9 months after Madeleine McCann. Do you know the case of Madeleine McCann?
Yes.
Madeleine McCann was a cute little 4-year-old girl that went missing in Portugal, and her parents were upper class, very well off. They would vacation in very nice places, and they went to Portugal, and their daughter went missing, and this was 9 months after that. When that happened, there was the media kind of came down a lot on the police force that they didn't do enough for this little 4-year-old girl. So this was 9 months right after Madeleine McCann went missing. They're searching everywhere. The community really came together. The mother, Karen Matthews, was born in Dewsbury, and she was one of 6 children. Her parents, first of all, were Gordon and June, which that's super cute.
Gordon and June.
Gordon and June. And they were said to be really strong parents and really strong grandparents. She was one of 2 daughters. They had 7 children and only 2 girls, and one of them was Karen. She had a lot of issues kind of growing up. I guess she had an IQ of 74, and average IQ is between 90 and 100. So she was a little bit below average. She had some learning disabilities, and she never got along with her parents. So by the age of 16, she ran away from home. She dropped out of school, and she met a boy and had her first child at 19 years old. And reportedly, the boy she had a child with was 16.
Oh, no.
16-year-old was a better father than she was to the kids. So
a better parent than she was.
And then so she left. She kind of started this pattern of meeting younger guys and then having kids with them. She was very fertile. After having this boy who she left with this younger boy, she met Leon Rose, and she had another child. Before she was 23, she had another boy with this guy named Leon Rose. Then when she was 23, she had Shannon Matthews, who is the one at the beginning who disappeared after going to school. Yeah. Her and Leon never got along, and it was very tumultuous. Right after she had Shannon, she went to her parents' house because there was signs of neglect too from her first 2 sons, that she couldn't take care of her kids. She went right to her parents' house, and her parents, they knew kind of Shannon needed the help, and they were really strong. They were really good grandparents, and they wanted to give their grandkids a good life. They raised Shannon for the first few months of her life. But then after a few months, Karen had a falling out with her parents, and she decided that she was going to move back in with Leon. Also at this time, it was reported that she refused to buy diapers for any of her kids. She would use plastic bags. She would tape towels to their butts, kind of whatever she would find. It was common to see the Matthew kids in towels and plastic bags. The thing is, I'm not shitting on the unfortunate, or I'm not trying to make, people who don't have who can't make ends meet. But
there's a
the
difference
fact,
between somebody trying to do whatever possibly that they can do for their child, no matter what it is, and then there's somebody who's just refusing to buy necessities and do what a child
yeah,
needs.
she was getting assistance from the government. So
Mhm.
she was having these babies and the government was giving her money. And so she was using that money for beer, cigarettes, and fast
Nice.
food. And she was refusing to buy diapers or anything for her kids. She had her first baby when she was 19. That first
Mhm.
baby is with that guy. And then she met Leon. And then at that point, they had the two kids, her second son, and then Shannon. And that's when she was refusing to buy diapers. They were fighting all the time. It was very toxic. In 2001, Leon and Karen split up, and Karen told Leon to take her son, and she would take Shannon, who was at 3 years old at the
What
time.
the hell? These babies. I just want to wrap them up and take care of them.
I know it doesn't end there. She
Oh.
has a lot more children after this.
What?
Yes. By 2003, Karen actually has 6 children by 5 different fathers. In 2003, she only has 4 of them in her custody. In 2003, Karen is 28 and she moves into Moorside Estates. Moorside Estates was originally built for military housing. It was kind
Okay.
of a transition for people who were coming out of the military who didn't have jobs. And so it was housing for them that was,
But
I
she
guess,
got into a place like that?
okay, it turned into government housing. So people
Okay,
who
that's what it used
had,
to be.
it was originally military housing. So people who came
Mhm.
out of the military who were transitioning back into society.
Gotcha.
And then it eventually was housing for low income people. It was government housing.
Okay.
It was
Right.
low income, high crime, but in the area of Moorside that Karen got into, it was more sought after because the government was trying to revamp the area. They were trying to lower the crime. They were putting up benches. They were setting up parks. They were trying to make it more
Okay.
of a desirable place.
Mhm. Right.
But there were still some people in the area that were throwing trash in their backyard and just being shitheads. I don't know. To set the scene, it's just kind of not a super desirable area. It was townhouses that some people didn't really take care of their throwing trash, in their backyard.
Mhm.
It was still a really strong community. And one
Oh,
of the
okay.
houses, they just used it only for a community house. So they would do like yoga and
Like a
town.
hall or whatever.
Yeah, they would get together and kind of, hang out, and
Right.
kids would hang out and watch TV. And Karen moved in here into this area when she was 28 with 4 of her children.
4 too many.
And she kind of had this pattern of meeting younger guys, having their baby, leaving them for another younger guy, and repeating this cycle.
And I don't understand that because I don't know what she's getting out of it. She doesn't want to take care of these kids, and she's like, I guess she's getting money from the government, but
That's what it is. It was reported that she was getting around 350 pounds a week for her kids, which works out in Canadian dollars. That's about 620 bucks a week in 2008. So it's a decent income, to be honest.
yeah, for your children, but she's like, oh, I could buy anything for myself.
That's just it. So she wasn't
God.
using any of the money to feed them or get any of their necessities. Like I was saying, she was taping plastic bags to their butts, towels, dirty dishcloths. She wasn't using the money for the children. In 2003, when she moved into this Moorside estate, she was 28 and she met 18-year-old Craig Meehan.
Right now I have a little baby and I could not imagine not provide like doing my best to provide to make him feel cozy and
Yeah, she's
this
a
woman.
piece of work. So
This
yeah,
is
this piece of
lady.
work, Karen, was 28 at the time and she met 18-year-old Craig Meehan. And so they moved in together in Moorside Estates. And within 7 months, she was pregnant with her
Oh, she was.
child within 7 months. While she was living with Craig, people heard violent arguments going on with them. They were the party house, even with this newborn baby, even with her other young children. People knew them as the party house. And as loud as they were partying, people even still said that they could hear children crying through the walls.
Oh, no.
Apparently, they were smoking up to 60 cigarettes a day.
Ew!
I don't even know how many cigarettes are in a pack. That seems like a lot to me.
Yeah, I wonder how many packs a day that is.
But
And they were doing it in the house, I could guess.
yeah, their house was like
Nice.
overrun with beetles, mice. It was covered in waste. There was vomit everywhere. It was disgusting. Like it was deplorable conditions that they were living in. This Karen, she did not give a fuck. There was writings on the walls in the children's bedroom because they would, I guess, communicate through writing on the wall, which is super odd. There was notes between each other saying, do you think we'll get dinner tonight? And then there'd be another note saying, we might get a packet of chips if we're quiet. Very awful conditions.
This is horrendous.
Yeah, the children were going to school with matted hair, layers of dirt on them that would literally roll off their skin. Obviously, people were noticing. Social services were called. This is what is crazy, though. In 2003, they were put on the at-risk. Karen, as a mom, was put on the at-risk register because of alcohol abuse and kids being left alone for nights on end.
Holy.
They were put on this at-risk register list, which it actually ended up having CPS be called to their house, but not as just a random house call. She was warned. She would have scheduled CPS call. The worker would call in advance and say, hey, I'm going to be at your house checking in next Tuesday or whatever, which is really odd, right?
I really wish they didn't do that.
This is what is even more aggravating about Karen, is that when she was asked about how she disciplined her children, she would say, if they did something wrong, I would sit them down and talk to them and say, this is what we should be doing. We shouldn't be doing this. So she knew. And then also if she, which that's not how she disciplined her children. When she knew the CPS worker was coming, she would ask her mom for additional money. So she was already getting money from the government for food and everything for her children. But when she knew a CPS worker was coming, she'd contact her mom or her sister and say, hey, can I borrow some money? And her mom would give it to her, and she would fill the cupboard with food. She'd tidy her house. She'd make everything look really nice. She'd tell her kids.
So she was capable of doing it. She just chose not to.
She was capable. Yeah. That's what makes it so much worse.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Oh, 100%. These babies are like they're neglected in literally every single way. They have zero comfort. And this bitch can actually do it. She just doesn't give a shit about her babies.
Yeah, she's running this party house in deplorable conditions. There's literal writings on the wall of her children saying, like, not sure if they're going to get dinner.
Maybe we'll get a bag of chips.
The kids are showing up dirty. Shannon, teachers were reporting that she was wasn't able to keep focus at school. So that brings us back to the Matthews house. So the night before Shannon went missing, she had a big fight with her mom and her mom's boyfriend, her 10-year-old boyfriend, Craig. Oh, sorry, her 10-year-old boyfriend, basically.
She went really young this time.
Her boyfriend, who was 10 years her junior. She got into it, and then so she ran to her uncle's house, which was like kind of down the street there, and she really got along with her cousins. And Shannon ran down the road to her uncle's house, and she was like, oh, I got into this huge fight with mommy and Craig, and I swore at Craig, and I'm really scared and everything. And this was nothing new to her uncle. He was like, oh, fuck, I don't want to get involved or whatever. He's like, hey, hang out for a bit. Let's let things chill down. And then you got to go back home. So he made one of his daughters walk her back home. The next morning, Shannon woke up and like I said, she got it down and she got ready for school. Her mom was up. The argument ensued again, and Karen shouted at Shannon, don't you ever come back here. She never did come back home. And so when she called 911, she never reported that argument to them, or 999 in the UK. They took it so seriously that they even cut holes in the ice in the water, and divers went in. They looked in the water, they looked in houses. They looked everywhere. After about 24 hours, they kind of started to shift their focus and kind of say, Karen, this might be more of an abduction case as opposed to a girl running away case.
Right.
The day after the schoolgirl was reported missing, the hunt intensified, eventually becoming West Yorkshire's police biggest operation since the hunt for the Ripper.
What?
Yeah, it costed 3.2 million pounds.
How much is that?
3.2 million pounds. That's about 7 million Canadian dollars.
Holy crap.
So it was so in 2008, it was the biggest operation since the Ripper, which I found quite.
That is very interesting.
And Karen, don't go do any media interviews or keep it to the police to kind of figure everything out. You and I have listened to enough true crime cases where the media, once the media gets involved, it kind of fucks everything up.
Well, they kind of try to take control of the narrative. And
yeah, immediately after they say don't go to the media, what does Karen do? She does an interview. And when I tell you this ragged woman, this
are there enough words for this person?
She looks like a dragged up, hard run, rough life, pushing 50 woman. She's 31 at the time.
She looks incredibly weathered.
Oh, if you look up a picture of her, she's got these circles under her eyes. She looks like she's got kind of two big black eyes. She looks rough. Karen Matthews.
She looks, you just know this person's dirty.
Oh, she is gross. And then look at Craig Meehan.
Guy with the buggy eyes.
Apparently, he was a lot smarter than her. In the relationship, everyone thought she kind of was the pants because she was so loud, always shouting. But I guess he was a lot smarter than her. He actually held a job. He was a fishmonger at the local supermarket. And he was making $16,000 a year being a fishmonger, which I think is around $30,000 a year.
She's one of those incredibly obnoxious people.
Yeah, people were saying that she was always loud and not in a friendly way, but yes, obnoxious.
I hope Shannon ran away and found a beautiful life.
So that's what police were asking. It was Shannon upset at home, and Karen was saying no, she loved it home. She kept calling her my princess baby daughter, my princess daughter. She got on media, she got on an interview. She was saying she was holding this teddy bear saying, my princess baby daughter, please come home. And people were starting to think that this is really not that she was suspicious. They were just saying she's a bad mom because in front of cameras, she had those big bags on her eyes. Like she'd been crying for days and putting on this whole show. And then when the cameras went away, she was just back to partying, back to normal drinking and everything.
She does have a history before this of being a bad mom. So
yes. One of her best friends even said that teddy bear that she went on and did an interview with holding wasn't even Shannon's teddy bear. Her friend even said she never called Shannon her princess baby. It was just very odd. People were saying that her learning disability and her low IQ, and she was going after these younger men and just looking for acceptance and it was just like another way of getting this, not acceptance, but this acknowledgement through media. She told her kids that Shannon went on vacation. Meanwhile, the residents of Moorside had pulled together and printed out T-shirts and posters, while more than 300 policemen at this point and 3/4 of all the UK's special trained body dogs. They were taking this super seriously.
Yeah.
Karen's best friend at the time, Julie Bushby, organized a campaign to find Shannon. You know, that community house in the Moorside? Yeah, she was throwing discos and stuff and raising money.
Oh, really?
To try and, yes, it actually her friend, Julie, organized.
You'd think, okay.
It was nice. Like the whole community came together and everything.
Yeah. Where the hell's Karen in this?
Oh, yeah. The reward fund for Shannon got up to £50,000, which was mediocre in comparison to Madeleine McCann. It was millions of dollars, and it was really weird because the Madeleine McCann family, they ended up getting emails from anonymous members of the Matthews family demanding money, saying, "You guys are well off. You should be sending us money."
Oh my God.
Yeah, and apparently these emails were quite aggressive and quite straightforward, basically saying that. And they were actually ready to send in £25,000 to the search, but police were like, no, don't do that. But the community ended up raising a bunch of money, and so even without the Madeleine McCann, the McCann family sending any money in, the reward was still up to $50,000 to find Shannon. Okay. And so Karen, she had this liaisons between the police force. A police officer would be at her house constantly, kind of telling her what was going on with the investigation. Okay. Going back and forth with information and whatnot. So she had a personal police officer at her house at all times. And she said that Craig, the stepdad, would just be playing video games all day long. And Karen would be either drinking or eating fast food. But as soon as cameras came on, they were devastated. It was a totally different Karen.
What the hell?
Yeah, and then also
they don't think people notice this behavior?
Well, so Jesus. People didn't think anything weird or suspicious. They just thought Karen is a shit mom.
Yeah, okay.
So no one thought anything suspicious of it, but the officer who is the liaison, so basically it's the in-between officer. So it's the officer that is at her house relaying information back and forth. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like liaison?
Am I saying it wrong?
Okay, yes, you are saying it wrong, because I was like, what do you keep you're saying it like with an accent or something.
I'm like, is it not a French word?
Funny, because seriously, when you first said that, I was like, what is that? And then when you explained it, I was like, okay, yeah, that totally makes sense. But then you said it again, and I was like, are you trying to say liaison?
Okay.
Oh my God. How do you liaison?
Yes, okay, I'm like a liaison. I'm sure that
how are you saying
it in France? Okay.
It's called liaison. Okay.
All right. There we have it.
Let's put our French accent away.
I'm sorry.
That is so funny.
Okay. I digress.
Okay.
All right. So there is one of those
liaisons.
She shows up. She shows up at the house one day. Okay. So
sorry. Hold on.
Okay. My face hurts.
Hold on.
Okay. Sip of your drink. Sip.
Let's get it.
Stop. It's gonna come through my nose. I thought I was saying it right. Okay, so one day say the word
liaison
came over, and her phone started going off. So I guess her daughter the night before had put her phone ringtone as a popular pop song, and I'm not sure what song it was, but I guess it went off while she was in Karen's house. Karen gets up and starts dancing, and she's like, oh my God, I love this song.
While the cop is there?
Yes, it was the cop's phone that was going
this
on.
Bitch.
So weird. And they were like, okay, I mean, I guess people deal with grief differently. She was just being really weird. So first of all, it was the teddy bear that wasn't Shannon's, Craig playing the video games, her dancing, and then there was another weird thing. One of the officers recalls her being strange because Karen was laughing and smiling kind of the whole time. And then also another time she had joked about one of the police officers being really cute and how she wouldn't mind taking him upstairs. And they're
oh my God.
So at this point, they asked her to do up her family tree because they were going to go through everybody and get DNA. It's very common, unfortunately, for when children go missing, it's usually someone they know.
Yeah.
If it's an uncle or, just
a neighbor,
a brother, a neighbor, anyone, someone in their family. Unfortunately, that's kind of statistically what happens. It's very rare for it to be just a random person to abduct someone. So they asked Karen to write down her family tree, which was huge.
Yeah, no shit.
She even comes from a family of 7 of her own. It actually came out that her youngest child wasn't Craig's biological daughter, which just added to this.
Oh, there's so many people to talk to.
Yeah. And she had told the officers that she had 6 children, when in fact she had 7 at the time. So Karen even forgot how many children she had. Like, this is the mother of the year that we're talking about right now.
Oh my God.
And the officer was like, are you sure? Because right here it says you have 7 children. And she's like, oh, right, I have 7. So at this time, it's been 3 weeks that Shannon's been gone. Karen made this family tree. They checked everyone. So by March 13th, police had taken over 1,000 statements, searched over 1,700 homes, interviewed over 200 friends and family, former lovers.
Yeah. Oh, geez.
And then they get an anonymous tip to look into Michael Donovan. Michael Donovan is Craig Meehan, who is Karen's boyfriend. So his uncle, who lived 10 miles away. And okay, so suspicion.
Sorry, this
is Craig's
uncle.
This is Craig's uncle. Craig is Karen's boyfriend at the time. They looked on this family tree that Karen did. He is not on there. Why isn't Michael on here? Anyways, they look into Michael. He has not shown up at any of the searches. He hasn't been involved in anything at all. He is not estranged to the family. He lives 10 miles away. He is very involved in the family. They find out that him and Karen are pretty close. I guess at the last Christmas party, Karen was sitting on his lap, having beers with him. Yeah, so it's not like he's some estranged uncle. Yeah. He is very involved. Even though Michael is not blood related to Shannon, the girl who is missing, he's
still part of her life.
They live within 10 miles. And this whole family, they all live within 10 miles of each other. And she has a child with Craig.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. That doesn't make sense why she would leave him out.
Yes. It does not make sense why they would leave him out, or she would leave him out. This is suspicious. This is sus.
I was just going to say, this is super sus.
Mm-hmm. They go over to Michael's flat, and he lives in kind of a split level, I guess. He lives up top, so there's somebody that lives out in the bottom underneath him. They knock on Michael's door, no answer. They look, his car is in the driveway, and apparently he does not go anywhere without his car. He does not walk anywhere. They know this. They're knocking, no answer. The neighbor underneath him comes out, and she's, what's going on? There's a bunch. Yeah. And they ask her, well, is Michael around? Where is he? And she goes, I haven't seen him, but I have heard a little kid walking around in his place. I thought that he has a new girlfriend. I just figured that was his new girlfriend's daughter or child.
Oh my God.
Alarm bells are going off in the.
I'd be like, I'm kicking this door in.
Oh, yeah. So they do. Because they're
thank
like,
God.
that is enough
Thank
for
God.
us to literally kick the door in. So they kick the
Yeah.
door in. Silence. Nothing.
Oh,
They
shit.
don't hear anything, but they smell fresh cigarette. Okay, someone is in here. And they're looking around. Nobody is around. But it's fresh cigarette smells. Someone has been here. His car is out there. This downstairs neighbor said he heard little footsteps running around like a child. So the main bedroom is locked. So they kick that down. Kick it down. Nothing. Still though, they smell fresh cigarettes. They're like, oh, fuck. They're almost ready to give up. It's been 24 days since this little girl has been missing. 24.
God.
They hear a little voice from underneath the bed say, "Stop it. You're frightening me." And the cops stop. They turn around. This little girl's head pops up from underneath the bed. And they go, and it's Shannon Matthews. They thought, oh my God, we frightened her. Where is Michael?
Right.
Where is Michael, Isabella?
Well, where is Michael? There's cigarette smoke. Oh, fuck.
Where is he? Now, this is probably the creepiest part. Shannon goes, he's under there with me. The cops go back in because they took her out of the room. They took her out of the house because they
throw that bed out the goddamn window.
They think that they've rescued this little girl. She's terrified of us. We scared her. We've got her out. She's safe. He's under there with you. They go back in. They lift the bed up. He is in the fetal position underneath the bed. This grown ass man had her and him underneath there.
I'm hiding. So freaked. I literally got goosebumps on my body.
Got some seriously shitting my pants.
I'm literally shitting my pants. I'm scared.
So the cops go in and they pull the mattress up, and this man is in a fetal position, and he has got a newspaper clipping that said that there was a 50,000 pound reward for this child, Shannon. He had with him travel ease and temazepam, which is a really strong painkiller, and he had 600 pounds with him.
Sorry, he had all of this with him under the bed?
Under the bed.
Okay.
And the cops actually had to remove the bed frame to get him out. When they pulled him out of his house, people onlookers were like, what is going on? This is a small community. And he shouted, I'm a poorly man. And he also said, get Karen down here. She was a part of this.
No.
Before we go into that, I wanted to talk about Michael Donovan. Who is Michael Donovan? Michael Donovan was actually born Paul Drake. He was the youngest of 9 children and brought up in Dewsbury as well. Throughout his life, he had learning difficulties, only having around half an average of an IQ. So he was a bit lower on the scale as well. He attended special school where he was bullied. From the age of 11, he began getting into trouble in juvenile court. By the age of 18, he started getting into trouble with arson and shoplifting.
Oh, no. Okay.
So by a young age, he was getting in trouble with the law, this Michael Donovan. His first brush with the law was a preteen. He was convicted at 3 courts of arson, shoplifting at the age of 11. At 16, he was convicted of causing criminal damage. Was at this time he ran away and never returned from home. He always lived in kind of these fantasy worlds. When he was 19, he legally changed his name to Michael Donovan because he named himself after a character in an 80s sci-fi TV show. While he was undergoing psychiatric treatment, he met Susan Bird, and they married and they had 2 daughters. And he claimed she was violent towards him and had a drug problem. And so they later divorced, but somehow he originally got custody to the two daughters. And then they were taken away from him allegedly because he was making them watch him have sex. It was really weird because he wouldn't allow them out. They were really dirty. The children were having trouble maintaining eye contact. They weren't developing socially. Just kind of sum Michael Donovan's level of intelligence up, I guess. At one of his jobs, his boss gave him $20 or 20 pounds to go fill up the work truck, and Michael went to fill up the work truck, and his boss saw him driving around after getting gas, and his boss was like, "What are you doing? I asked you to fill up the truck, not waste gas." He filled up the tank of gas, and it didn't cost him the amount of money that his boss gave him. So it cost him less than 20 pounds to fill up the gas. Yeah. So Michael drove around to empty the tank out so that he could use the rest of the 20. Like that's how his brain works.
What an idiot. Why did this also reminds me of like something that would happen in The Office, like the show?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah, no, like so silly, but real. Somehow he was more mentally stable than his wife at the time to take care of their two daughters. It was reported that he didn't let his daughters outside. They were very dirty. They were having trouble maintaining eye contact, not developing socially, at a normal pace. Anyways, it came to a head, I guess, at school because the teacher, and I don't know what this letter said, I don't know, but the teacher found a love letter from Michael Donovan to his daughter in her lunchbox. And I don't know how nefarious or how, icky or whatever this love letter was, but it made the teacher go, ding, 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 this is weird. And she reported.
Poor girls.
So when they went in, the social services went in and they went into Michael Donovan's house, and it was fucking weird. They went in and there was Post-it notes everywhere. There was Post-it notes on the kitchen saying, "Do not enter." There was Post-it notes on a phone saying, "Do not answer." There was notes on the wall saying, "Do not talk." And he enforced this. People would come over and his daughters would say, "Oh, we can't talk."
What?
It was so weird. There was a neighbor reported that the girls came over one night to stay, and I guess the girls were so hungry. The neighbor was giving them just food, just regular food, and they were scarfing it down. And then the neighbor was saying, "Okay, well, you guys want to go to bed?" And apparently the girls said they were more comfortable staying on the couch, and the neighbor, I guess, tried to give them a blanket, and the girls were like, "No, we use our jackets." But apparently they just put their jackets over their heads. The girls said that they used their coats and only covered their heads, and said, how weird is that?
That is so sad.
All this obviously led to the girls being taken away. Michael Donovan went and kidnapped his eldest daughter, and he kidnapped her, tried to take her away. He got caught, charges dropped. And that's Michael Donovan. That's his backstory. That's where we're at here now. The cops came in, found him underneath a bed frame in his home. He also had cut out a manhole in his ceiling in his flat, and he had tied a rope to one of the beams, and Shannon, he would tie her around her waist, and she could only go to the bathroom. She could go to the living room. She could play her Mario Kart games, and he had rules. He
literally treated her like a dog.
Yes, a dog who could read. He had rules that listed, you must not make any noise or bang your feet. You must not go near the windows. You must not get anything or do anything without me here. Keep the volume low, only up to 8 or lower. you can play Super Mario and you can play some DVDs. You can play the CD music. He signed at the bottom of these rules initials IPU, which stood for I promise you. It was actually a threat that her mother used often when she was mad at them.
Oh, that's.
We're not sure if Karen wrote these rules out or if Michael did, which is so fucked up. Also, I read that he would take her out on outing. And
What?
and nobody suspected him. He was so carefree, like he didn't act suspicious. He would go to the grocery store and leave her in his vehicle. And there's camera footage of him going in and out of grocery shops while she had been missing this entire time. And she's in the backseat of his car with this pink hoodie up over her head.
What the hell?
He's just shopping and nobody's suspecting him.
That is absurd.
It's insane. So when they found her, he like I said, he had 600 pounds with him. The paper cutting, saying that there was a fire, or the police report saying that there was a $50,000 reward. He had the travel ease, the temazepam, and he had looked like documents. He was going to take Shannon, and she had this pamphlet, Travel Safe for Children, that was called Arrive Alive, and it was a
Karen
pamphlet.
had this?
No, Mike had this. Michael Donovan
this.
had this. So it looked like he was ready to flee with Shannon. Yeah. And remember how he had kidnapped his eldest daughter in years prior to this.
Oh, yeah.
Michael was taken into custody and he didn't go easily. He was fighting and kicking and everything. That was March 14th that Shannon was found alive and hidden in the bed, and Michael Donovan was taken into police custody. At the police station, they have Shannon now, and she's sitting in a room. She's at a table. They bring Karen in. What would you do as a mother? Your daughter has been missing for 24 days. She's sitting there behind glass. The police officers, they're crying because they were expecting to find a dead, like 9-year-old's dead body, if they found her at all. This was so, uncommon that this little girl, she was well. It was like there was seemingly fine. She just kind of was a little bit off because of these travel medications and these.
Well, other than the abuse of being tethered to a rope from a beam.
Yeah, but she wasn't sexually abused or beaten or anything like that. And she was alive. As a mom, what would you do? Your daughter is sitting there behind glass.
I would freaking smash that window open, jump over it like a monkey.
Get your baby.
And grab my baby.
Yeah, and police officers were thinking the same thing. Police officers were crying. They were, so excited. They bring Karen in. What does Karen do? She looks at Shannon through the glass. Shannon doesn't know she's there. Karen says she has new clothes on, and that's it. And she goes home again. They tell Karen, we can't send Shannon home right now. We need to do some tests on her to make sure everything's okay with her. And really, they kept Shannon in their care because they weren't really sure what was going on. They're doing these investigations. Karen goes back to her Moorside Estates, and people are partying. They are elated. They're crying. They're hugging. They're chanting, Shannon,
Karen's
Shannon.
just going back, though, not.
Shannon was not with her. Even her friend, Julie Bushby, who I mentioned before, who started this campaign to find Shannon, she was like, for Christ's sake, Karen, smile. Karen wasn't even smiling. She had no reaction. Craig, and he kind of didn't have a reaction either, but we're not really sure about Craig. He was actually, I read, said to have a confused look on his face all the time and his mouth hung open. So I think
that's the description of this person.
That's the description I read of her boyfriend.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it's not very nice. Back at the police station, Michael cracks and he says that him and Shannon had met up at a cafe and they had been communicating over burner phones. We all know what a burner phone is, right?
Yeah, I would hope. Yeah, I think everybody would know what a burner phone is.
They'd been communicating over burner phones. They met up at a cafe and Karen actually brought her youngest baby with her, strapped in a buggy to meet up to
Okay.
devise this plan with Michael.
Wow.
Originally, the plan was for Michael to take Karen's son, but Michael said, no, I don't know your son. And also, they'll care more if it's a little girl. How about Shannon? Him and Karen decided that they had seen Madeline McCann on the news lately, and she had racked up millions of dollars to find this little girl. It was millions of dollars of a reward. So they're thinking, Shannon goes missing. The public's going to go crazy for this little girl. Couple days, they're going to make a bunch of money. Michael apparently tells her, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to kidnap your daughter for several days. And Karen says, well, I know 3 guys that'll kill you if you don't. That's what she says. Michael was scared of Karen. So he goes along with the plan, and I guess she wrote it out on a piece of paper what the plan was. He was to memorize it, and when he did, he was supposed to dispose of this piece of paper down the toilet, apparently.
Oh my God.
Like, this message will
Oh my
self-destruct.
God.
Michael has fully incriminated Karen, saying this was her idea. She threatened him if he didn't take her daughter. He knows Shannon quite well, so he was supposed to pick her up after school and tell her that they were going to the fair. That's why Shannon got into a vehicle with him. She knows him. She thought Uncle Mike she's never been to a fair. Her mom's never taken her to a fair. She gets into his car, and then instead he ends up kidnapping her. And then the plan was Karen was going to tell Michael what to do next once the reward money got up to $50,000, but it was taking a really long time to get there. And I don't think they anticipated that to take it that. They thought maybe a few days, not 3 weeks. That's why Michael was ready to kind of run, because he was kind of thinking like, oh shit, this is taking a long time. I can't keep this little girl in my house for this long. That's what they think. That's what
bunch of idiots.
That's what's been alleged. On April 9th, Karen Matthews is charged with child neglect and perverting the course of justice over her daughter's disappearance. New charges of the kidnapping and false imprisonments were later added. But on April 19th, they came and they handcuffed that bitch and they took her right out of Moorside Estates. People were so pissed off.
Yeah.
People quit their jobs to look for this little girl. People were so people were giving money. They spent so much money trying to find her, and they were all duped. And in another twisted event, they went back into the house to search computers and stuff because they wanted to see if Michael was telling the truth about Karen, and they wanted to see if there was any kind of evidence on computers or anything like that.
Or whatever.
A letter, anything. So they took their computers. What they find, Craig Meehan, her boyfriend, they found 11 counts of possessing indecent images of children. So Craig had all this underage kiddie porn.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
And it was children at about the age of 4 and up.
No. Oh my God. These babies are just so unsafe.
And the entire time, too, a lot of people were saying that Craig was really mean to Shannon, and that's why she ran away. And the whole time Karen was saying, no, he's never been mean to these girls. During this time, Craig gets sentenced to 20 weeks in jail for possessing child porn.
I'm sorry, 20 weeks?
Yeah, he only gets 20 weeks. He doesn't even serve the whole 20 weeks.
Does he get put on a sex offender list?
He does, and then he gets relocated. People found him and beat the shit out of him. Cops relocated him again, but people found him again and beat the shit out of him again. So
why are we taking such good care of this?
What I read was that the cops weren't doing a very good job at relocating him, and it kind of seems like they were doing that on purpose because he was having a worse sentence outside of jail.
They're like, hey, go get beat up over here. Yeah. And now go get beat up over here. This is fun.
Yeah. It's so gross. Then also another thing that came out, which is really sad, is they did all these tests on Shannon to make sure she wasn't abused, and she wasn't. So Michael actually never sexually abused her or hurt her with violence. Another thing that came out was that she had been being drugged with this Travel Ease and this temazepam up to 20 months before the abduction took place. I'm not sure if you remember, I mentioned that while she was in school, she was having trouble concentrating.
Yes.
They think that it was because of this Travel Ease temazepam, and her mother was drugging all of her children because it was easy for her to take care of them.
This whole thing is so foul, but that is
it just keeps getting worse, right?
Yes, this is absolutely heartbreaking. I could not imagine.
I feel like you've made it as a parent when your children are happy, comfortable, have whatever you can provide for them. Not everybody can. And here she's getting handouts from her parents, from her sister. She's getting government assist, and then she's just drugging them. And it's disgusting. During her trial, Karen never remotely had come to terms with the consequences of any of the choices she had made in her life. She was not used to being judged, and she appeared to have no remorse, a childish sense of unfairness. She just felt like she kind of was the victim, and she kept saying, I didn't do it, I didn't do it. In the end, at the end of the trial, both Michael and Karen were trialed together, and they got charged with kidnapping, false imprisonment, perverting the course of justice. They only got 8 years in prison and were released after 4. Also, to add to this, after 4 years, Shannon got a new identity. She got relocated. She got a makeover because she was coined the most hated mom in the UK. So basically she got put under witness protection because it's got all given to her. Thankfully, she got all her children taken away from her. However, while she was incarcerated, she got to take parenting classes. And she said, I quote, in case I decide to have any more. She was only 37 when she got out of jail. In an interview that she did over the radio while she was still in jail and able to speak to people before she got this new identity, she said the things she missed the most were shopping, sex, and coffee at her local cafe.
That's what she missed the most while she was in jail?
Yeah, nothing about her children. Although I will say this is one thing that kind of made me happy. Her friend Julie Bushby, the one who was, she felt so slated by this woman. I mean, rightfully so. Julie Bushby was the only one who would visit Karen throughout this 4 years of her incarceration, and she detailed everything that she would say to her because I guess she wanted answers. She wanted to know why Karen did this to Shannon. She kept denying it, even though she confessed. After the fact, she was still playing the victim, right? Julie reported almost every time she's seen Karen, she'd have a black eye. So she was beat up quite a bit by inmates.
Good.
Yeah, that's like the one.
I like it.
Good thing. Now,
Perfect.
Michael, he died recently on April 17th, just this year. He changed his name again to Aiden Johnson. So I don't know if that was another sci-fi character. So on April 17th, 2024, it was revealed that Michael Donovan, who had changed his name to Aiden Johnson, had died from cancer. He was pronounced dead at the Three Valley Hospital on April 16th of 2024 after collapsing in the courtyard around mid-afternoon. In February of 2024, he was diagnosed with stage 3 throat cancer and given months to live. So he suffered greatly.
I really hope that these children of Karen's and these children of his went on to freaking live better lives.
Well, so we don't know what happened to all of Karen's plethora of children, but we do know that Shannon, she never did get to come home. So it's sad because she was never able to reconnect with any of her friends from her school. Her cousins never got to see them again. So it was kind of like they did have to grieve
Oh.
her all over again, because the whole community and her whole family, her grandparents, everyone, they thought, oh my God, she's found, she's coming home. She never did get to come home. She was put into a foster care. She was taken away, and they had to change her identity too. She was placed in
Why
the
couldn't
care of
she have
social
went with her
services.
grandparents or something?
I think it was to keep her safe, I guess.
Okay.
It wasn't, I think most likely, it's not said, but most likely the grandparents didn't have the means
Mm-hmm.
to take her, because they were kind of all scraping by. Like none of them
Yeah.
really had much. So she
Right.
was placed in the care of social services before given a new identity and family. During her mother's trial, a court was told in the aftermath of being found, she regularly had nightmares and needed psychotherapy sessions.
Oh no, she's only 9.
It's really aggravating, because meanwhile, her mother was released in 2012, given a new name, and now is reportedly living in the south of England with another boyfriend who is also on the registry of being a sex offender.
She could give 2 shits about what she did.
Yeah, she's living her best life, her mom. And
Wow.
Shannon, who is 25 now. So we don't know where she is. They've done a good job at giving her a
Good,
new
okay.
identity.
Shannon deserved so much better.
Oh my God, they all did.
They all did. They did not
Yeah.
deserve those lives at such a young age.
What a bonkers case, though, hey?
I hope that they all eventually got to feel the feeling of real love and safety
Me too.
eventually, because everybody deserves it. Oh, gee. Well, except for Karen and Michael and Craig. Let's put him in there too.
It's really sad, too, because all the Matthew children's got split up.
That's terrible. And they all endured so much together and went through the same thing together. And then they just have to deal with it alone.
I know, and from all accounts, too, Shannon's biological father was a really good guy. But the reason that Shannon wasn't allowed to talk to him was because Karen got into a fight with him. His name was Leon Rose. Got into a fight with him over money. So the last couple years right before this whole thing happened. Oh, I have to add this. Craig her boyfriend never got charges or was associated in any way other than his kiddie porn charges. He never was wrapped up in this, but there's allegations, people thinking he might have had something to do with it. This is funny because people say that Michael and Karen were too stupid to be able to devise a plan like this. Yeah, she didn't think that there would be any kind of investigation. Even if you didn't have your child kidnapped, once they find your kid, they're not just going to hand over this quote unquote prize money as she probably thought it was. Like, there's always
Here's the prize money and here's your kid. Go on with your life.
Yeah. And then she also told investigators, oh, I knew that she was going to go with Michael. He was taking her to the fair. And then investigators were like, and you never thought to bring his name up? It's just like, yeah,
people, like, so many chances for her to tell them about him.
Yeah.
And she just didn't.
Yeah.
Dummy.
So they were saying that Craig might have had something to do with it because he was apparently the smarter of the two. Oh, are we going to tell people where they can find us?
Yes. Yeah. Well, on Instagram at Dark Narratives Podcast.
Yeah.
And TikTok at Dark Narratives Podcast.
Yeah. So come check us out.
And also, if you do like it, give us a star review.
Oh, yeah.
That is super, super helpful. Or a follow or anything.
And that's it for this week.
Remember, it's a dark world out there.
See you creatures next week.